Salutations, friends. Automatic here with a very special, handcrafted, heartfelt tale just for you. I hope this story finds you well. I am doing absolutely superb. This is my story. You see, whether out there on the high seas or kicking back and relaxing in a nearby port of call, I'm often asked, from whence doth one hail? And, I'm generally not willing to answer that question because I don't like to talk about my past. But it occurs to me that inquiring minds both near and far desire nothing more than to find the answer to who is this specimen of culture and charisma? Who is this man, Automatic? Well, to answer that question, I have to look back into my past. I've been on the Sea of Thieves for 4 years. But before there was the man, there was the boy. In my youth, I hailed from Brittany. Now, Brittany is the very soul of fashion, dance, song, undertones of Catholic high school girls, but they get a lot sluttier as time goes on. And for all the accolades I can shower upon Brittany, she did not boast a military. Instead, she kind of relied on the neighboring chuckdoms. You see, Brittany just lied right off the coast of Norse. And the Chuck of Norse, he had a powerful navy. And he would often use this navy to war with the Van Dam clan or the privateers that served them. Pirates, transients, ne'er-do-wells, and hippies. And in fact, they were just known to be the manliest men of the Norse. You don't get much more manly than a Norse man. In fact, when my natural mother left my father, she told us kids, she said, I am going to go shack up with a Norse man. And we asked why, of course. And she said, well, because your dad wears wigs, he applies makeup, and he draws moles on his face. And I find that very effeminate. But kids, keep this in mind. Try to become men when you get older. And I took that to heart, but I really wanted to please my father because I thought he was a sad man, right? Broken by the departure of my mother. You see, my father was a parakeer, and my stepmother an ignoramus, and as such, bigwigs from all over the place would descend upon our shop, and they'd give us their pierogies for delousing or a good boil or just some powdering. And when they didn't want to take the pierogi to the boil, that's where the nitpicking came in. And boy, was I good at nitpicking. I think it was my little digits. I could really get in there and get at them. And even today, my contemporaries will attest, Otto is one of the finest nitpickers they have ever met. Well, this was a step in the right direction for my father. You see, I was demonstrating that I wanted to follow in his footsteps, and that ultimately pleased him. My father was also a fancy man. He had learned to become a fancy lad as a youth, and so he wanted the same for me. So I attended one of the finest boys' schools in the region, and I learned etiquette, animal husbandry, that's a thing. But everything I learned by the book, because I'm a firm believer that before practice or actually trying to get some experience, you should read and read a ton. That way you can talk down to the people that have had a little practice or a little experience. A book will tell you volumes more than real world examples could ever teach you. And so I like to lecture people, and I have the bookie background to do it. And I don't mean somebody that places bets for you. That's a different business altogether. So far, I'm doing good in my dad's eyes, but as long as I'm reading these books, I'm also reading some comedies and some adventures, mainly comedies. I loved the likes of Hartman, Chase, Carvey, Farley, Elliot. Now there's an underrated one. One of his series, what was it entitled? Get a Life. That spoke to me, and I thought, yep, I should do that. Now, another one that he did, this one really touched my soul. It was called Cabin Boy. And I think it touched me because it was about a fancy lad. And the fancy lad went out to sea. And the more I read, the more I remembered my mother saying, you should probably try to be a man when you grow up. And I thought, well, there's a man's thing, be a seaman. I mean, it's even in the name. I mean, there's policeman, fireman, seaman. So I thought, let's do that. Well, I told my dad, and it was a confrontation. I explained to him that wig making may not be the right thing for me. I love a good wig, I wear it well, but I just don't know if it's for me in terms of a job. He didn't like that. I told him I think it's a fad. Maybe in 20 years, I don't see, kids will probably stop wearing wigs. And then next thing you know, like celebrities, influencers, they'll stop wearing wigs. And I guarantee in 50 years from now, even like elderly conservatives will stop wearing them. Can you imagine a century from now, like a judge or a barrister still wearing a wig? No, fashion changes too quickly for that. Anyhow, my dad says, Otto, I can still hear him saying it, Otto, as long as there's like alopecia, or as long as there's lice. Wigs, dude. Wigs are the answer to lice. What about syphilis? He told me, like, 9 out of 10 people in Brittany have syphilis. So, wigs. He tried to assure me there's a future in wigs, but I just didn't want to do it, So it was not a compelling argument. And yeah, the conditions around Brittany didn't help either. They were in economic crisis. As it turned out, Brittany was not in control of her own finances. No, they were controlled by outside forces. And so things got worse for Brittany. Sluttier and more desperate. And scandals left and right. The cries in the streets were leave Brittany alone. Leave Brittany alone. I cried it myself. Long nights, overnight, which that my dad thought that was weird. So he and I were disagreeing more, and my stepmom was an idiot, so I decided to leave. I went to Norse in an effort to get some manlyhood, to become a Norse man in a way. Not a fancy lad, but a fancy man. And so I reached out to the Admiralty, and I asked, can I be part of the Navy? And much to my surprise, the Admiralty said, yes, you can. We have a spot for you as a cabin boy aboard the Queen Catherine O'Hara. And so, exciting times. I went to this little ramshackle, like, harbor town to find the Queen Catherine. And I tell you, what played out was pure fate. Because I went into this little shop and I asked the fellow, where's the Queen Catherine? And I swear to you, what followed was straight from Cabin Boy. So I knew it was right. I knew it felt right.
You, old man. Look, I am in desperate need of assistance.
Well, what's on your mind, little girl?
I realize that you are most likely the product of lower-class inbreeding, but perhaps you could help me.
Oh, gosh, I certainly hope so.
I have been wandering this dreary village in hopes of finding the Queen Catherine. You wouldn't have any idea where she might be docked, would you?
You know what you are? You're one of those little, fancy lads, aren't you? Boy, you're cute.
Okay.
Gosh, what a sweet little outfit. Is it your little spring outfit?
No.
You couldn't be cuter. You're so adorable. Oh, my. You remind me of my niece, Sally. Lovely girl. She's a dietitian. Hey, would you like to buy a monkey?
No, I don't want to buy a monkey.
Are you sure?
No, I'm on my way. Your
All right.
family must be very proud
All
of
right,
you.
we'll see you, honey. Hey, wait a minute. Jennifer, come here.
What?
Come here. I can show you to that ship of yours.
You will?
Right down this road. Right there.
Marvelous. Well, I probably should hurry, shouldn't I? Because
Yeah.
they're going to start the banquet soon. And I must tell you, I'm famished.
Well, why wouldn't you be? Big girls have big appetites, don't they? Listen, do yourself a favor. Don't let them give you any of that flank steak bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Try the London broil.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good tip. I
Sure.
shall do it.
Pamper yourself.
I will.
Okay.
Oh, my. Well,
Yeah.
I must tell you, For a yellow-eyed, gamey-smelling lowlife, you really have quite a decent heart about you, sir.
Well,
I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to shake your hand or get near you because you're all of that.
Yeah.
But I am going to be on my way.
Okay, good for you.
Yep, off I go.
Yeah. Hey, listen, have a good trip, Susie. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Think about me, all right? oh, man, do I hate them fancy lads.
As soon as we put out to sea, I realized that I was aboard a ship full of charlatans and effeminates. That this wasn't a Navy vessel, this was a merchant Navy vessel. Apparently there had been a mix-up. But before I could take my concern to the captain, the call went out that we were entering the legendary Shroud. A place that few believed even existed. When the first officer asked the captain, "How bad is it?" the captain said, "This is like defecating on your fiancé, son. You don't come back from this." Roused from the upper deck, I was asked to go below and help patch holes in the hold. But by the time we got down there, the water was up to our necks. I took a deep breath, fearing that it might in fact be my last. Soon, I was submerged. But although underwater, I could hear the shrieks and the cries of all the panty-waist and creeps that were aboard this sad merchant vessel. She went down by the bow. I could feel it. We were jolted around in the hold, and in doing so, I struck my head against something solid. The red that I was seeing faded to black, and so I feared that this, my first day at sea, would indeed be my last. Much to my astonishment, I awoke under blue skies on a deserted island, a stretch of beach that I called Bitchin' Beach. But beyond Bitchin' Beach was a jungle, a very mysterious jungle where there sat the remains of a galleon. And I made my home in a cabin in the stern of that galleon, for I was in dire fear of the jungles around me where I heard supernatural noises. And in fact, it was in those jungles where I came face to face with a phantom. Yes, I thought I had ingested too much seawater. I thought perhaps I was already dead, but the phantom assured me he wanted to help, that he didn't want me to end up like the others who had perished on this island. And to facilitate that, he supplied me with books, a survival guide, and a guide to sailing ships. Moreover, he gave me the supplies, the tools I might need to venture forward. But I asked, how would I ever get past the shroud? Well, my phantom friend, my guardian angel, he told me he would part the shroud, but that beyond the shroud was not my home. No, it was the Sea of Thieves. Why would I go there? To become a man, he said. To this I was elated. He said manhood can be totally found in the Sea of Thieves, so that's pretty cool, because it was like my mother's words echoed in my ears. And so he said, go, take that ship. I call it the Dainty Taint. And before you know it, I was aboard the Dainty Taint. I was putting Bitchin' Beach in my rear view as I was sailing into that corridor, but around me, the shroud started to close in. The water turned red like a Kool-Aid, but not a normal Kool-Aid like a Jonestown Kool-Aid, the kind that just totally wipes you out. And yet, I kept my focus ahead of me, and I sailed forward. I put my nose in a book, and as I sailed into the Sea of Thieves, I had no idea that my book learning days would pretty much fall by the wayside, and I would start to be forced to learn by experience. Now, there's so many more tales that I could share with you, like how it was that I came into possession of that monkey that the man back at the shantytown tried to sell me, or how it was that I came to command the extraordinary magnitude, how it was that I met my first officer and trusty crewmates, how it was that I finally made it with that Daryl Hannah-looking mermaid that probably saved me from the Red Sea, and that totally does this thing with her mouth. And I have stories. I thank you for joining me for this story. Maybe in the future I'll share another, but I'm not really that motivated, so